Hey, what's up, guys? Got another new video for you. This is Tuned In Sports. My name is Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
And I'm Steve.
And today we've got the weekly NBA update video for you. Gonna be breaking down some Clippers and some Thunder basketball. And, once again, if you want to hear more stuff about the Pistons and the Nuggets and all the Denver and Detroit sports teams, make sure you go over to Dent Sports, check out their content. They post a weekly video where they kind of get into a little bit of all of those different teams. And so, with that being said, make sure you check it out. It's always a good laugh every week, so make sure you check it out. But anyway, let's first start with a little joke about our teams here. Since we went ahead and started with the Clippers last time, I guess we'll go ahead and start with them again. I feel like, with the Clippers, they've kind of run into kind of a difficult stretch here lately. They've been losing some games to some difficult opponents. I think that they're still playing pretty decent basketball, but it's just like everything else. When you got some injuries and stuff, it can definitely impact your performance. And I definitely think it would be interesting to see how this team can perform when everybody's healthy, but it just seems like all the time that they never are.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a weird situation, yeah. I guess you would say.
It's tough to just say injuries though, just because you look at the roster and think we're a lot deeper than a lot of teams. So there's no reason why we should be, if one of our main guys is out, why we should be losing a step. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we have guys on the bench that can come out and, fill in that void for, a guy like, if we're missing somebody like, like Paul George or something. We should have guys on the bench that can step up or, come in and start and put up good production. So, it's been a little bit shaky over these past couple weeks. Not really past couple weeks, but this last week specifically, really.
500 for the week, and
yeah, it's been, we come out, play well one night, then the next night we look like like a completely different team. So look, for example, we blew out the Wizards by 19 on Tuesday, then play the Grizzlies and get blown out 122-94. So, but then we blew out the Grizzlies the next game.
By 30.
No, 20. But
20.
But then we lose to the Bucks. And you know what? I'm not even going to get into that damn game. Holy crap. The ending of that was just putrid. Like, seriously. All it was, I think it was like a 3-point game. And Kawhi jacks up like a pretty much logo 3. I'm sitting here like, dude. I understand that we gotta get threes, but you can't tell me that we couldn't have gotten a better look than that.
It was essentially what, half court or what?
Well, it was a little bit back from the 3-point line. But still, it was contested, and, to me, seems like Batum
who's going to put him in check? Nobody. What are you going to tell Kawhi don't shoot?
Well, I'm just saying, though, if you want, I think they should be looking for better looks than that.
I agree. I don't disagree one bit. But, you can't have your cake and eat it too all the time. You got to deal with Kawhi and all that Kawhi is. Because he makes a lot of great plays, but then he also can play very selfishly. And that would
I
be
mean,
an
and that's
example.
just-
That's an example of it there, where he feels like he's got his look is going to be better than anybody else's. So,
Which I mean, to a point, I mean, I understand it, but same time, it's. I mean,
but he's not a great 3-point shooter anyway.
I mean, but I mean, honestly, I mean, nobody was really shooting all that great.
No, the fact that, I mean, the Bucks is a good team though, so I mean, there's not a whole lot of shame in losing to the Bucks.
Yeah.
However,
I mean,
losing
we
to the
played them
Grizzlies by
tough.
30 is losing to the Grizzlies by 30 was not a good look.
And I think we gave up like 72 points in the paint that night. So, I mean, talk about ridiculous.
Talk about
mean-
literally giving the game to your opponent. I mean, if they had that many points in the paint, that means that they weren't even really having to earn the baskets. They were just, I mean, I could put up 30 points in the NBA if every shot I took was a layup. I mean, I could do that.
But-
If I had to shoot them, I may not get a very high percentage, but
well, bottom line
Well-
is that there wasn't a whole lot of defense being played. Let's leave it at that.
I mean, let's just say my main thing that I'm looking for going into these next string of games is consistency. So, and consistently playing well and also performing when it matters the most.
well,
Because we've been a little bit on the
shaky.
shaky side with
I think-
performing when it
I think-
matters.
I think there's a mentality on this team that they kind of approach it like we don't really have a whole lot to worry about. We're going to get to the playoffs. We're going to play fine. I don't think they're sweating it. You know, I don't think they're playing with urgency is the whole thing. They're not playing like they need to win it. They're playing like, okay,
Let's not get anybody hurt.
let's let's
it
not
easy.
go overboard with this. We're going to win some games. We're going to lose some. But, you know, like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where once you start laying off and you start, you know, not putting the pedal to the metal, that's when you run into problems, because now all of a sudden when you're not in games or you're losing to teams like this, I mean, that's not just a switch you turn on and off. You know, especially when you get ready to get into the playoff area. I mean, you need to be playing your best basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
can't be rolling into the playoffs on, hey, we just lost to the Grizzlies by 30. You know, and thinking, oh yeah, we're going to be a 2 seed here. Oh, okay, wonderful, nice thought.
Yeah, I
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, you can't do that. And to me, that's where I think, you know, the teams like the Clippers that have a lot of talent. That's where I think what comes into play is playing lackadaisically, where they don't really look at it as a big deal. Like, oh, so what? We lost. You know, everybody loses games. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that there should be concern in LA right now, because I mean, when you sit down and look at the talent on the team, and we've seen what they can look like when they're clicking on all cylinders, they're a tough out no matter who
yeah,
they play. But
definitely.
I mean, there is some cause for concern that you're losing to the Grizzlies by 30,
Yeah.
because that team shouldn't be on the floor with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with that assessment totally. I mean, to come out and put on that kind of performance against a team that really, I mean, literally has Ja Morant, and that's about it. I mean, it's like,
I'd give the Clippers second unit if I was like making the betting line for the game. I'd give the Clippers second unit. They'd be still giving up points.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm with you.
The second team should be beating them. So I mean, to lose by 30 and have it be a combination of
What? Yeah.
all their starters and stuff playing and just playing miserably or not caring, that's just unfortunate.
I mean, what I'm gonna say is our second game against the Grizzlies should have been what our first game was. Us going in there and wiping the floor with them by 20 or more. So I mean, Tomorrow, though, we got a game against the Celtics as of when this video is being recorded. So
you got 2 games left before the All-Star break. One against the Celtics and one against the Wizards, both on the road.
Yeah. So I mean this game against the Celtics to me is kind of a big one. I mean, I feel like we need to win this game, get ourselves back in the win column, and also, just have some confidence going into the All-Star break. If we can do that, then win against the Wizards. The Wizards have been playing a little bit better basketball as the season has progressed. So, I mean, I don't expect them to be an easy out. It was the first time we played them, but who knows? I mean, like we said, I mean, if we're getting blown out by the Grizzlies, we're liable to get blown out by anybody. So, we definitely gotta take these next 2 games and, treat them with some care. I mean, don't go out there and play half-heartedly.
No, yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I would just pretty much echo what they said. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world, and I mean, like Dad said, I think he said it best. I mean, losing by 5 to the Bucks on the road, I mean, that I don't really see much shame in that. You put up a good performance, but performances like losing by 30 to the Grizzlies. I mean, that's something where you need to look at and say, that's a game that we should not be. We probably shouldn't be losing, but we definitely shouldn't be getting blown out. I mean, I understand every team has their shooting spells, and just like I said in the Quip Joint podcast earlier, we're talking, even on the worst team in basketball, we're still talking about professional athletes here. So it's not as if every game is just a cakewalk. I mean, we're still talking about professionals, but at the very least, with the talent that the Clippers roster has, I mean, I would probably take. I mean, I'm not trying to throw dirt on anybody, but I would probably take the Clippers bench unit over the Grizzlies starting 5. I would at least give it
some thought.
Give it some thought, exactly. So, I mean, the fact that they're losing to that group by 30 is not a good thing. But, what that kind of tells me is just the team wasn't prepared. And I think part of it is they looked at it and they're like, dude, we're against the Grizzlies. We could beat this team with a hand behind our back. I mean, come on. I mean,
no, you're probably right, though.
That probably played into it. I mean, at the end of the day, the players and the coaches and stuff will have you believe that, they don't pay attention to the media or anything, and, we have the preparation is the same for every game. But I'm going to tell you that I do not believe that if they were playing against the Lakers, the preparation is the same for when they're, got Charlotte coming into town. I just don't believe it. I imagine that even if the preparation is the same, don't tell me that the players don't know what's going on in the league. The ex-players and stuff always say they can tell who can ball. You know what I mean? When you get the respect from an ex-player as a player, it's because when you've played, you know who's got it and who doesn't. And so when you're looking at a team like the T-Wolves or something coming to town, and they got a couple good players here and there, but for the most part it's just a bunch of nobodies, pretty much. I mean, I don't think that they're going to be sitting there like, oh yeah, we really need to put our full effort into this week's practice. Because I think they're probably like, shoot, this team is a joke. I mean, especially like the T-Wolves, they got 5 wins right now? I mean, come on, it's like, they probably look at that team and say, dude, we don't even need to practice. I mean,
got 7 wins.
Do we even need to dress out? So
I guess you lost one this year. I think you lost.
That's probably why. I mean, I'm just saying, when you're looking at a team, and I'm not no disrespect to Memphis, because I feel like in the coming years, they've got some solid pieces in place to really get better. I mean, obviously, John Morant, he has the ability to be one of the better point guards. He already is, maybe, one of the better point guards, and he's only going to get better. So, I'm not trying to disrespect Memphis, but I'm just saying, there's levels. And right now, Memphis is not on the level of a team like the Clippers or the Lakers. So, I feel like, you know, that, I mean, as much as the players and stuff will tell you, oh, we don't pay attention to the media and stuff, I do think sometimes that, you know, if all you ever hear about this team is they're struggling and all you ever hear about your team is how great you are, I find it hard to believe that you might not buy into some of that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyways, you know, nothing to worry about for the Clippers. I mean, they got the All-Star break coming up to kind of reset. I feel like on games where they're losing to teams like that by that much, you know, for the first half of the season or whatever, okay. Second half of the season, that does not happen. It cannot happen, I think. I mean, you need to get that out of your system, and at the very least, if you're losing to a team like the Grizzlies, it came down to the end, and you just weren't shooting well. But 74 points in the paint, lose by 30, that's unacceptable. Yeah. When you're starting to gear towards playoffs, not, okay, well, where do we have to travel to next week? Now is the point when you're starting to gear towards playoffs and winning championships. So enough of the fluffer stuff of, oh, let's just make sure everyone's healthy and stuff. These games are meaning stuff now. So I think they need to, you know, gear up and not do that anymore.
I mean, one more thing I want to add just before we move on to talk about the Thunder. You know, one of the main reasons I said why these games kind of going into the All-Star break is so important is because look at the schedule that we got coming out of it. We got the Warriors for the first game back. Then we got the Pelicans, who are actually playing some good basketball. I mean, their record isn't all that great, but they are super competitive. Mm-hmm. And they can knock any team off, really. I think. I mean, if they're on, so.
And then we got 2 straight games against the Mavs.
Yeah, so I mean, and the Mavs aren't an easy out either. I mean,
no, that's a tough matchup for you guys, actually.
Yeah,
that's not an easy matchup for you.
Yeah, I don't think it was just coincidence that it went to 6 games last year, and that was with them hurting. So
yeah, I mean, we definitely like I said, I mean, look, what I'm looking for over these. I mean, coming into the All-Star break and then going out of the All-Star break is playing consistent.
Yeah.
And you got the trade deadline coming too, so
yeah,
you could see some movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with the Clippers, I think there's a possibility that you might see some stuff going down there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because
sure.
I would.
Sometimes it's not that you necessarily need to have trades, but sometimes you need to refocus and reset. And sometimes a new guy coming to the team kind of forces it to happen.
Yeah.
Because you gotta get him into the flow of the offense and this and that. And sometimes it can be a good thing for you to do.
Yep. Definitely.
You know, as long as the guy's not a
issue or something
like that. But I can see the Clippers, maybe making a trade or two to see how they can improve it a little bit. Because right now it's more about tweaking things here and there than it is about them needing to make major moves, because they don't really need to do that.
No.
But anything that they can do to kind of help strengthen the bench and that kind of thing might be worth doing for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I feel like, as far as that goes, just before we get into the Thunder, I feel like as far as that goes, do they need to make a trade? Probably not, but do I feel like they could trade a couple players on their team and bring in somebody else that could do the same or better? I think there's some people that are expendable. I mean, I think there are players on the team that could really benefit another team, and you wouldn't lose too much by letting go of them. but you could probably get some pretty good return on investment, especially if they're the ones pursuing. Because when you're the team receiving the call, they got to meet your standards, not the other way around. You're not, begging them to take them.
See, to me, like the Clippers, I mean, I don't know what their cap situation looks like or what what kind of number they could get. But like a guy like Andre Drummond, to me, he would be a guy, you bring him in there, I like your chances of winning the championship. Because he does all the little things. He gets the rebounds. He's going to put up 25 a night. He's going to give you a double-double virtually every game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a definite upgrade from what they have at the position currently.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it all kind of goes into how does it fit salary-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, now he'd be a guy, though, that would be worth taking a chance on just for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like, just cut him after the year or whatever. But if you're trying to make a run to the championship, which now is the time. Mm-hmm. If you're a Clippers fan, this has got to be the year. This has got to be the year because Kawhi's up. They already signed Paul George. Kudos for them for doing that.
Yeah.
Getting him taken care of and his contract dealt with. But, I mean, you can see Kawhi exit stage left. They have several other players that are on 1-year deals or 2-year deals.
Yep.
So, this would be the year if you're going to make a move to get an Andre Drummond or somebody that's a significant addition. Now is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. No, I agree 100%. I mean, especially because I don't think Serge is going to be. I think we only have him on a 1-year deal. So I mean, he's probably he might leave. I mean, especially if Kawhi doesn't stay, I could see him leaving.
I mean, I could even see what's his name? JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee! I can even see JaVale being a nice pickup for him.
Yeah.
To solidify that center position.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that there's things that they could do, but we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, I think if they go after somebody and they spend too much, it could be more costly than it could be beneficial. But if they are able to get a trade that makes sense, I think there are upgrades that could be made that could have a big impact. But, I mean, also the other thing is I feel like last year chemistry was a big issue, and they definitely don't want to travel down that road again.
I don't think that's the case now.
They're
in a much different spot there.
Well, it's definitely not an issue now, but if they bring in a whole bunch of different people...
Yeah, but we're only talking about a half a season. I mean, if it was like a full season or something, different story. I mean, especially when you figure that they're bringing these people in to run for a championship run. If these people coming in can't get excited about going for a championship with the Clippers, they need not be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see anybody coming in there and being a problem child when they know they're surrounded by the talent that they have.
Yeah.
You just don't do it.
I don't think anybody would come in there and cause problems, but I'm talking more about fitting with the team.
No, I agree with that. I understand.
I mean,
what
like
you're
Reggie
saying.
Jackson last year. I mean, they brought him in, and I was thinking that was going to be a game-changing maneuver, but 7 minutes in Game 7, and I mean, he even to this point, I think with some of the injuries, he's doing a little bit better, but I still don't think that he's really molded too well into the team. I think he's kind of a guy that doesn't really know how to fit in because he used to be, if he didn't score 20, they lost, to he can score 2 and they blow someone out. I don't know. Regardless, I mean, I think just chemistry-wise in terms of people being better fits than what they already have, they could, if they're not careful, they could mess that up a little bit. But I definitely agree. You're not going to have anybody go in there and say, oh, man, this sucks. Why am I here? Like, oh, you don't want to win a championship. Okay.
No, but I mean,
well, hell, they could sign Boogie Cousins.
These are the types of players though, like that we're talking about with like Drummond or some of these guys. These are the types of players though you bring in when you're trying to make a run, because they can actually impact.
Well, they could sign Boogie Cousins. he got cut by the Rockets.
I mean, I don't even think that would be a bad move, honestly. I
can't even believe
Boogie.
why would Houston cut him.
I have no idea, but
Now he is a problem child.
yeah.
He's notorious for being a problem. So if I'm the Clippers, I'm not touching him.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying what I watched, that guy was balling out on the Rockets, so why is he gone? There's probably more than we know about, which means no thanks. But, I mean, I'm just saying, if they were to bring in somebody like that, he's definitely somebody that could have a huge impact overnight, and they don't even have to trade for him.
Yeah.
They could just outright sign him. They could say, hey, 1-year deal, league minimum or couple million.
I mean, the chances are he'd take it because he knows he's going to a team that's got a chance to win it.
Exactly. So, and plus, he's just looking to play. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up on the Lakers, to be honest with you. Because they probably, for 1 year, sure, come on aboard. Because they're not getting quite what they were expecting out of Gasol and these guys. So, an addition like that could be huge if he could stay healthy. But if he can't, well, you only have him for 1 year at a pretty small price anyway. So
you don't even have him for a year. You got him a half a year.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
If we couldn't make any trades for JaVale McGee or Drummond or whoever it may be, I definitely would entertain it. I mean, I think if you could bring Boogie in on a minimum league deal or just a small contract, I think he's got more than enough talent to have a huge impact and be a game changer for this team. So regardless of what people may what his past is, I think he would straighten up if it meant winning a championship in the end. So who knows? But
yeah. Well, you didn't really hear much about him causing commotion on the Warriors when he was on there. But again, that was partly because he was injured so much that he was hardly ever on the court. But in that situation, he's like, shoot, we're going to the finals, so I'll deal. But it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying as an example because I just read that he got cut the other day, and I was like, well, shoot, we're talking about trading for somebody, but sign him, and that's definitely a name. But anyways, we'll go ahead and move on to the Thunder here. We spent the majority of the time on the Clippers, and that's mostly because the Thunder, there's really not much to talk about. If you watched last week's weekly update, then you pretty much watched this week's weekly update. The only difference really is that, unfortunately, tonight's game got canceled because we had a game scheduled against the Raptors tonight, and it got canceled because the Raptors have a couple players exposed to COVID or something. And until they finish getting tested or whatever the case may be, they had to postpone the game. So we didn't have to do that, but unfortunately we did have to play against the Heat, the Spurs, the Hawks, and the Nuggets. And we got pretty much creamed by the Nuggets and the Heat. And we beat the Hawks somehow, but we lost to and we beat the Spurs. So
I thought the Spurs was a good win because they're playing some good basketball this year.
Yeah, the Spurs, that was a pretty good game for sure. But, it's been really nice having Shea back again because just like I said in last week's video or whatever, we aren't seeing these young players because they've been injured and stuff. So, this is kind of a year where you assess who's playing and who's here as a piece for the future and who's a trade commodity. And it's kind of hard to do that when nobody's even playing. A good portion of the people that we either traded for or brought in for one reason or another, they haven't even seen the court. Well, not that they haven't seen it, but they've seen it for such limited time. You don't really know what you have with these guys. And that's kind of a frustrating thing because we knew this year was going to be crap. So what I wanted from this year was to be able to see, well, what are we getting with some of these draft picks? And for the most part, the draft picks are sitting on the bench because nobody can stay healthy. I mean, Pokuševski, he hasn't played in probably a month. So it's like, well, we've been hearing nothing but, we were hearing nothing but Pokuševski during the offseason, but we don't even see him on the court ever because he's hurt. So it's kind of frustrating as a fan and kind of annoying, but, at the end of the day, for the most part, I mentioned we got creamed by the Nuggets, and we got creamed. The Nuggets game was just ridiculous. It was like 26-4 or 24-6 or something. It was in the 20s to 4 or 6 in the first quarter before we even. We were down by 20 before we even got in double digits. It was just a horrible start, and we just never were able to come back from that. And
I don't expect a team like the Thunder to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it has to go that way. And then in the Nuggets game, we did kind of keep it close for a little while, and then they just blew the door off it, and we lost by 30. And by keep it close, I don't mean it was a 2-point game going into halftime. It was within range of, okay, they could maybe turn this around. But
yeah, exactly.
it just got uglier and uglier, and unfortunately that's just kind of the way that the Thunder season has gone, to be honest with you, is a lot of games where we just lose to teams with superior talent, and that's just what it's going to be. That's what rebuilding is. We're trying to figure out what we're doing and how we're going to do it, and until we do, it's going to be a lot of L's on the schedule, and a lot of, we get to watch this team look their best against us. So a lot of promising things from some of the younger players, like I mentioned, Shea, Lugens Dort. That guy is really, really impressive. Last year I watched him and I was impressed, but he does a lot of the little things. But there's another guy that if he could just work on his shooting, he could be one of the best players in the NBA. That guy, his defensive intensity and just his size is incredible. Part of the reason why he's able to defend guys like Harden so much so well is because Harden's not muscling him around because he's huge. He's a freaking massive humanity. So he's not just getting moved out of the way by these guys.
Right.
So that size is really important, especially in today's NBA when you got guys like LeBron that literally just get by trucking people, essentially. You can't do anything about it, and if you try to, they call a foul. That's essentially what it is. And when you got guys like that, you better be able to, at least not get out-muscled by them, or you better be strong enough to at least cause them problems. Otherwise, they're just going to use you and abuse you all night long. So, but yeah, overall, it is what it is with the Thunder. Like I said, second verse, same as the first.
Yeah.
Pretty much every week it's going to be the same segment. There's really not much to talk about with this team. We don't really have any hopes of going anywhere, and we knew that coming in.
To me, as long as you have some bright spots on the roster already, regardless of what your record is this year, you got a bright future. I feel like, you got Shea and Dort there. You just got to give it time to, for them to get the pieces in place. And once they do that, granted, Shea's got his contract coming up in a couple years, so they better be getting ready to pay him. But as far as the direction, I think, and how they are, going about it, they are doing the right thing. They got a couple bright pieces there already, and they just gotta, make some trades or something. And I think they could be right in the picture pretty fast. So.
No, their off-season moves. They've got so many draft picks and stuff that they can either use them as draft picks or they can put packages together to get to add players, that are proven already. So I mean, their history would suggest that they're probably sitting pretty good to be able to get it turned around here in a rather quick fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody should be surprised by what they're seeing this season. I mean, they pretty much decided to blow it up.
Yep.
Which, we've debated about it before, about whether or not it was the right move or not. And, I mean, obviously with, all the draft picks and stuff they've gotten, obviously it's going to depend on what they do with them and how these players turn out. But, they pretty much blew up a pretty decent situation, where if they would have maybe just brought in another player or two, they could have been maybe running, deep into the playoffs, or who knows what happens. But, but it was a choice that they made to get rid of Chris Paul and, the center, Steven Adams, and I mean, they had some pretty decent pieces there, in my opinion, that really didn't need to be moved. But, the Chris Paul thing, I can understand. He's old. So, you really want to pay him all kinds of money, or would you rather move on, and get somebody younger? So, but the important thing there is they brought him in there to kind of coach Shea along. And if you watch Shea play this year, it definitely had an impact on his game. Because, he's balling this year. I mean, that guy's definitely putting up numbers. On a nightly basis. He's averaging over 20 points easy.
I know.
And he just had his career.
Insane.
He just had his career high the other night. I think it was against the Nuggets. He put up 42 in the game. So
yeah, I mean, he's going to turn into, he's going to become a major player. I mean, there's no question in my mind. The only thing that I kind of worry about with him is
Spurs.
What does he do? What do they do with him? Because, like Bennett said, his contract's coming up, and you're either going to have to pay the man a lot of money,
or he's going to be walking and going somewhere else.
Or he's going to leave. And ultimately, because the Thunder, depending on what happens with their draft pick scenario, they could be looking at this like, okay, boom, we get all these players around, or maybe they draft another guard to play. And they move on from Shea and say, hey, we don't really want to pay you the all-star money. Now, I would imagine, because of how well he's playing and the fact that they've invested, time in him and allowed him to kind of grow as a player, I would imagine that he's got to be in the future there, but you just never know. I mean, I hope he is. For his sake, I hope he is. And then also for, the fans of Oklahoma City, because, I mean, to me, you got an elite point guard there. He's definitely turned into one of the elites in the league, so.
Well, as a result of what they did over the offseason and stuff, I mean, outside of Al Horford's contract, there's not really many other players on this team taking up cap space, so I'm sure that it's in the plans to pay him his money, because there's not any other contracts on this team that are.
And how many guys are you actually that are really worthy of paying?
Yeah,
anyway?
no, exactly,
exactly. And he's definitely worthy of it, and I think they should do it. They should because I think he's a guy you can build around.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, I think they were clearing out all these contracts and stuff so that they would have the room to be able to extend him and stuff like that, as opposed to, some of these other teams that are going to be stuck because they just don't have room. I mean, like the Heat, for instance, they got all these, promising young players and stuff, but at some point when they have to pay them, if these guys want to make some dough, they're probably going elsewhere, because you got Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic and all these guys. Well, Tyler Hero is one of the guys that they're going to have to pay.
I know.
Because he's on the rookie contract. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like a Heat situation where we are going to have to pinch pennies in order to be able to afford a contract for him. We already got rid of everybody. Pretty much we have all that's left is rookies and guys that are still trying to prove themselves. And a couple of veterans like Al Horford. But again, Al Horford, he's on the last year of his deal, and I think maybe he might have one more year left, but I can't imagine that he's in the long-term plan. So
No, he's gonna be.
by the time Shea's deal comes up, he'll be out. So I mean, there's not really anybody else that's going to be taking the money that would otherwise be going to Shea, barring a huge trade with these picks and stuff, but which could happen. But even then, I mean, I just don't really see a scenario where we don't have money to give Shea a contract, and I think that he would have been involved in the trade by now if they had no interest in keeping him around. So, and based on how he's transitioned from last season to this season, he's exactly what they would be looking for, I would think. I mean, he made huge strides from last season. I mean, last season there was games where he pretty much just disappeared out there. But this season, he's showing up almost every night. So, let's just put it this way. If they don't decide to keep him, I'm going to stop having as much confidence in this ownership. Because this seems like the ideal right here. I mean, you blew it up to bring in young talent. Boom. We have it now. So don't get rid of them.
No, you got at least a piece of it.
Yeah, this is what the blowing up was for, was a player like Shea. So don't let him just walk for free or something like that, because this guy is what you rebuild to get.
No, and I mean, they're at a point right now where they need so many pieces that, I mean, just, bringing in one big-time player or something isn't going to be enough.
No, exactly.
To get them where they want to go.
Which is a big reason why I don't think that it's going to be involved in a trade package situation, at least not immediately. Because I just feel like we have way too many needs to make this blockbuster trade for one guy to just keep losing the way we are. This is essentially what's going to happen. So I definitely, at least for the time being, I don't think we have enough to do something like that. Now, if we had last year's team and that was like the level we're performing at this year, and all we needed was one more guy maybe or something like that, then sure. I think you could easily see, if we had the record of last year's team and we're playing like that, and one star player type could make a huge difference, I think you could easily see that those picks gone in a flash. But because we don't, I just don't see it happening.
No, that's obviously not anything they're pursuing.
No.
They're kind of playing the wait and see game, and then they're going to use their draft picks to the best of their abilities, however they see fit, whether it be through the draft, or they bring in talent, or they trade those picks away and bring in people from free agency.
Yeah.
One way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's people out there that they maybe could get for lesser money or something that could have a big impact on this team and be great alongside Shea. People like D'Angelo Russell on the T-Wolves, where all they're doing over there is sucking, so come over here and suck. Somebody like Devin Booker, I don't think the Suns would be interested in trading him, but for a while I was hearing it rumored that Thunder rumors with Devin Booker. Now, this was last season, but I'm just saying, I mean, if that was to happen, that would be huge, and that would be a great young player to add to the mix. I mean, there's a host of people. Hell, the guy for the Cavaliers, Colin Sexton. I mean, it would be wonderful if he wanted to come over, because again, another city that is
or Garland.
or Darius Garland, both guys that are losing, have been losing, and don't seem to be doing anything in the future but losing. At least in OKC they have a history. So we could pull somebody like that and maybe do something good with them. Who knows? But, at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't really matter for this season. We're talking about this season specifically. I mean, it is what it is. I knew it was going to be like this, so I'm not going to, sit here and act up like I'm all upset or anything like that. I knew it was coming, and it's nice to see them competing on most nights. I mean, some nights the other team's talent just outweighs us, and we just can't, especially with the injuries we've been dealing with, we can't compete. That's going to happen, but for the most part, in the games I've watched, we don't look like a hapless group of guys out there that just suck. I mean, we look like a team that is still competing despite the talent deficiencies, and that's all you can ask for when you're rebuilding. So, anyways, if you guys like the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell so you get an update every time we post something. Make sure you check out Denver Detroit Sports. They post a video, and they record every week, and videos usually come out Tuesday, Wednesday, around that time, so check that out.
And also make sure and check out the new clip joint section, new to this channel.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure you check out the Clip Joint podcast, another playlist thing that we have as a part of TuneIn Sports now. Make sure you go check that out. They just the first video was just uploaded today for Clip Joint on TuneIn Sports, so go check that out for sure.
Yep.
But anyways, so thank you guys for watching. I'm Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
And I'm Steve.
See you guys in the next video.